Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Bhalava Giribaradhari Gopi Jana Bhalava Giribaradhari Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Banachari Jamunatira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotarashata Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Dai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shishiguru and Shigauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 10, Text number 70, entitled Prahlad, the best among exalted devotees. Evam vidhani asya harer swamayaya. Evam vidhani asya harer swamayaya. Vidambamanasya nilokanatmanaha. Viryani Gitani Risibir Jagat Gurur Lokam Punananya Param Badami Kim Evam Vidanyasya Hare Swamayaya Vidambamanasya Nilokanatmanaha Viryani Gitani Srivir Jagat Gurur Lokam punananya param vadami kim. Evam vidhanyasya harer swamajaja. Vidambamanasya nilokanatmanaha. Viryani Gita Nisibir Jagat Gurur. Lokam Punananya Param Vadami Kim. Please chant. Viryani Gita Nisibir Jagat Gurur. Lokam Punananya Param Vadami Kim. Vidanya Saharer Swamajaja. Vidambamanasya Nilokanatmanaha. Viryani Gita Nishibir Jagat Gurur. Lokam Punanamya Param Vadami Kim. Evam Vidani. In this way, Asya of Krishna, Hare of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swamajaja by his transcendental potencies, Vidambamanasya, acting like an ordinary human being, Nrilokam, within human society, Atmanaha, of him, Viryani, transcendental activities, Gitani, narrations, Rishibhihi, by great saintly persons, Jagadguru, of the Supreme Master, Lokam, all the planetary systems, Punanani, purifying, Aparam, what else? Badami King, can I say? Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Lord, Sri Krishna, appeared as a human being, yet he performed many uncommon and wonderful pastimes by his own potency. How can I say more about his activities than what has already been said by great saintly persons? Everyone can be purified by his activities simply by hearing about them from the right source. Purport. Bhagavad Gita and all the Vedic literatures fully explain that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, appears in human society as an ordinary human being but acts very uncommonly for the well-being of the entire world. One should not be influenced by the illusory energy and think Lord Krishna to be an ordinary human being. Those who really seek the absolute truth come to understand that Krishna is everything. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Such great souls are very rare. Nonetheless, if one studies the entire Bhagavad Gita as it is, Krishna is very easy to understand. The Krishna conscious movement is just trying to make Krishna known all over the world as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is too, Bhagavan Swayam. If people take this movement seriously, their life as human beings will be successful. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 7th canton, 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Prahlad, the best among exalted devotees. Evam vidani asya hare swamajaya vidam bamanasya nirilokan atmana biryani gitani rishibir jagat guror lokam punananya param badami king. The Lord Sri Krishna appears a human being, yet he performed many uncommon and wonderful pastimes by his own potency. How can I say more about his activities than what has already been said by great saintly persons? Everyone can be purified by his activities simply by hearing about them from the right source. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Utale Shrimate Romapada Swami Tinamini Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Utale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Itinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyasha Kripasindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. It's a wonderful verse that sort of encapsulates the whole philosophy or the whole purpose of the Krishna conscious philosophy. To understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, as a person, as a supreme person, and that the perfection of life is simply to hear, or the perfection of life can be achieved, and even after the perfection of life, that's just the activities, is being completely absorbed in the wonderful uncommon activities of the Supreme Person. So the program of the program of the community of devotees is simply to hear about these wonderful pastimes and absorb oneself in these wonderful pastimes and hear them from the right source. So it's very, very nicely put. And remember, this is the last verse of this session in which Narada Muni is concluding basically his exchange with Maharaj Yudhisthira, in which, he narrated the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Nrsingadev, and he also added other pastimes. And he was just basically expanding on the relationship that is there between Krishna and the living entity. And started again, we went to this many times through the lectures, that this conversation started by Maharaj Yudhisthira trying to understand, Shishupal's liberation. And Narada Muni went on to explain in so many ways and expand, and then now is his personal appreciation of Krishna's position. So it just flows out of him. The tremendous appreciation that he have also for Maharaj Yudhisthira and Maharaj Yudhisthira's relationship with Krishna. And so this is coming out very, very, very nicely at this point of concluding, his answers to Maharaj Yudhisthira, that although he narrated this wonderful pastime of Lord Nrsingadev and Prahlad Maharaj, and he just added, other, just making the point of Krishna's protection to his devotee at these pastimes of Lord Shiva. He is just expressing this appreciation and this devotion, towards Krishna, and appreciating the relationship with Maharaj Yudhisthira. Having this problem that my ears are blocked, so like in a little bubble chamber, hearing myself but not hearing much outside. So forgive me for that. It's a little weird feeling. There's this concept. So into the verse, into the purport. Into the verse, Krishna appears as a human being. This particular understanding is very difficult for people to actually grasp. That the Supreme Personality of Godhead has a human form. And in one sense, in all revealed scriptures is the hint is given. Some of them more directly, that the original form of the personality of Godhead is a human form. In the Bible, we all know it says that man is created in the image of God. So we can understand that this form originally comes from, the form is originally possessed by the personality of Godhead. And then in other scriptures, in the Quran, there's the names of God in which He's referred describe qualities, like God is the most beautiful, like that. There's so many. Some of the names describe the qualities of the personality of Godhead. So, although in the Vedic scriptures it's just very, very clear, expressed. Although there's other things that are said that when you don't hear from the proper source, then all kinds of speculations are made. Why? Why speculations? Because it's a very difficult concept to understand when you try to approach it from the perspective of the material condition, the material world. When we hear or when anyone, in the beginning just hear, okay, so God appears in this world as a human being. Then let me try to understand. So, he has a family. So he have a father and a mother. He have relationships. He have a place. He have friends. He plays. He have, he have girlfriend. He have wives and things like that. So when I hear this pastime, I try to absorb it from the experience that I have. In general, that's how one tries to absorb a particular type of knowledge. Once relates it to my experience. So and there is a way of understanding the transcendence that sort of transfers, one's particular human experience to the supreme. That is called anthropomorphism. Anthropomorphism. That's how the term that is given. That basically is that we just simply transfer those experiences. So to try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His exchanges and His relationship with the living entities is, you try to understand it from the perspective of a human being and the human feelings. Oh, so God is sad, so He must be pretty miserable, or sadness is sadness. There's not experience as blissful sadness. It doesn't make sense. Is it's an opposite sort of thing. Paradox, yes. So how to understand that is almost like it's impossibility. So people who are religious, who takes just pious people, who have not hear from the proper source and don't have the backup of transcendental knowledge, then out of sentimentalism, they accept those things. So there's so much concoction and ideas that have been presented to explain Jesus Christ, among Christians like that. And books and movies and things has been trying to explain, how he came to make certain choices, and when he makes certain choices, how he processed those choices, when he decided to sacrifice himself, and then, he must have some doubts because some things that it says that he expressed doubting, God's protection, and then passing that. So the whole process of him and relationship with God, they trying to understand from the perspective of a common human person going through all these emotions, and his relationship with Magdalene, who was a prostitute, and so type of things. All these things, very difficult to understand because they have no concept of how a pure devotees function. They have no concept how the personality of Godhead function. They have no concept of a spiritual reality that is completely different. You try to see it from the perspective of this material world with its limitations. So it's just out of sentimentalism. They maintain their faith, but it's very, it's very fragile. Faith without knowledge is extremely fragile because any little thing can break it. Any little occurrence can break it. So, thus, when some tragedy happens to the faithful person who is sentimental, then they can explain it, why God allows this. Or if they look deeply at the world, why there is evil, why God allows evil. So they can explain it. So they go into this turmoil. Either they give up their faith or they make some, almost a childish explanation. Well, God must be all good, but he is not all powerful. There's an equal power that is competing about God, that is evil power. And there's a struggle between goodness and evil. And God has no control over evil. Evil is, a counter power of God. So that's the explanation they have. And of course, then the concept of God is completely defeated. Because the concept of God is that there is no one greater or equal to. So it's a mess. It's a big mess. Thoughtful persons that are also devoid of transcendental knowledge, that they also haven't heard from the risers, they think, well, that doesn't make sense. That's all sentimentalism. If God has a form like this, then how is that possible? How you can put eternity into a form, squeeze eternity into a form. How can you, what is this of, this human form and life in this world in which there's all these relationships, this variety, these things that are experienced in this material world, with this form that is full of all, this is the source of all kinds of problems. Because what is relationship means in this world? It's attachments, is all kinds of, things that you have to negotiate and accommodate. And in general, it's the source of all miseries. Actually, not in general. It is the source of all miseries. Because, even in this relationship, either I get disappointed because, somehow or other, at one point, it just doesn't work. Or if it really works, then when the time factor comes and finishes everything, I'd be completely miserable. Then, when a loved person, a loved one dies, there's people goes into great, grieving, like that. Grieving. You become very miserable. It's a very, there's a lot of hurt that because of attachments. So relationships and attachments, are they're sources of unhappiness and misery. So you're gonna take the absolute truth and then put it into this whole, concept and messy thing that is all this world of forms and relationships. So therefore, it doesn't make sense. Therefore, it means that this world of relationships, this world of variegatedness, is the world of illusion. It's a temporary world. And in reality, one have to subtract yourself from this. That's what the scripture says. And one have to free oneself from this material illusion, this world that is called Maya. And the absolute truth, the all-pervading absolute truth, then is impersonal. So the Mayavadis, they also they miss the point of understanding the personal aspect of the absolute truth, because it doesn't fit. And in reality, if one steps back, from this perspective, then yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But that is simply because there's no understanding of a spiritual reality, full understandings of a spiritual reality. So Lord Chaitanya solved the whole problem when he presents the philosophy of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. That's how things comes into, full understanding. Oh, okay. Like my Guru Maharaj was actually Balaram Prabhu in his. You remember Balaram's narration of Srimad Swami dealing with this Mayavadi lady. Balaram was like, confrontational. God is a person. This that cause and energy is completely wrong. It's a wrong understanding. So, confrontational. Then Ramabhat Swami presented that this impersonal understanding is an aspect of the absolute truth. Like that. So, that's a philosophy of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. These very contradictory concepts becomes unified. And that is the personality of Godhead. And when you say Achintya, means that it's inconceivable. Therefore, you cannot conceive from your mental speculation. You can't speculate about it. It's inconceivable. So you can understand it with your mental power, or with your research power. It's inconceivable, Achintya. Veda Aveda. So you have two opposite things, oneness and differences. In the material world, there's either oneness or there's difference. You can have the two at the same time. You cannot be inside and outside at the same time. You're either inside, you're either outside. So these are opposite things. So these two things becomes unified. And that's a proper understanding of the absolute truth. If one analyze it, absolute must include everything. Therefore, it's not absolute, then it's duality. So if you said that that God has no form, then it means that there's something in existence that God doesn't have. So God have this, and there's something else right here. So there is not absolute. There is duality. There's two things. There's a material creation, there's a spiritual creation. What is a spiritual existence? Is material existence. Two things. So that is the world of duality. But then you can talk about the absolute truth. You can talk about absolute. If there is Maya, then who's Maya? Maya means illusion. Is by itself, illusion by itself. There have to be someone who creates the illusion. So absolute means that everything is included. Everything have to be existing within the absolute. So the absolute has a form and has no form. The absolute, Bahir Nashimho Hridaya Nashimho. Bahir, he is inside as well outside. So he's in your heart, but he's also outside. Like that. So this is the philosophy Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. The Krishna, Lord Chaitanya presented, this conclusive philosophy to understand the absolute truth. And then everything is perfectly understood. Now, I wanted to read you one thing. Is within this narration of Narada Muni, of Prahlad Maharaj, when Prahlad Maharaj was instructed by Narada Muni within the womb, the last verse of that part is a very is very relevant to this verse today. Because it tells you that before going to that, from the Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna labels those who don't understand him in his human form as mudhas. Abhajananti man buddha manusin tanun ashita. That fools deride him when he comes in his human form. Same principle is that, fools because they don't have transcendental knowledge. The verse goes, Param bhavan ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram, that they don't understand his transcendental nature, and that he is the controller, the supreme controller of everything. He is a mama bhuta maheshwaram. His energies, mama bhuta. This material world is one of his energies. He is the controller and the owner of everything. So, and because of that, then the next verse in the Bhagavad Gita, those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation and through their activities and the culture of knowledge are all defeated. So that is a position of people without transcendental knowledge. And that's the situation right now in the world. No transcendental knowledge and all kinds of atheistic and demoniac philosophies to explain existence in this world. Even religious, religiosity, other religions, they completely covered by it or infected by this impersonal philosophy. Even though in their own scriptures, God is presented as a person, the Father. You don't have an energy, a homogeneous, energy, just being a father. How does that work? A father is a person. But even though that whole thing is there, um, the the concept or the understanding is impersonal. Even though the 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 explanations of the personality of God is given there. Same with Islam. There's so much impersonalism in those major religions, But to speak of Judaism, they don't. They just the deity is the book, and that's it. So um, so whatever hopes they have, culture of knowledge, fruitive activities, everything is doomed. And then the explanations of those who are not bewildered. This is what Narada Muni is saying in this verse, that he's appreciating the position of those, and him, even from his perspective, he's just, he just uh, uh, said, with you can, with emotion, with emotion of appreciation, that of Krishna being in a human form, and the relationships that they have, that he was telling Maharaj Yudhisthira, he's in your palace. He's there living with you. He appears in his human form. I mean, he's just so wonderful, performing all these wonderful activities, very uncommon activities. And just to hear about those activities, I just say some things, but what else can I say? The great saintly persons already say so many stories, and just absorbing yourself in those stories is just the perfection of life. So he's just, expressing in ecstasy like that. So those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They're fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Mahatmanas tumas parta. Mahatmanas, great souls, very rare. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So that is, Narada Muni is just being a perfect example of that absorption, that devotion. And the position, the mind, and the mentality, or going a little deeper on this, the position of the devotee, is this verse that I'm going to read you. That same Narada Muni tells Prahlad, no, is telling Maharaj Yudhisthira about Prahlad Maharaj within the womb, what he learned. So he says, and this is again the position and the mentality of the pure devotee. In this material world, to render service to the lotus feet of Govinda, the cause of all causes, and to see him everywhere is the only goal of life. This much alone is the ultimate goal of human life, as explained by all revered scriptures. And then Prabhupada goes in his purport, Bhaktivedanta purpose, to explain this point that I want to. So I read the purport, it's very beautiful. He brings up from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he brings up what Lord Chaitanya told uh, Ramananda Roy is the exchange of Sri Chaitanya of Ramananda Roy as they having the wonderful conversation. Ramananda Roy, the Lord Chaitanya gave Ramananda Roy the vision to see him as Radha and Krishna. And then Ramananda Roy expressed some words of some prayers, beautiful prayers, and Lord Chaitanya told Ramananda Roy, this particular verse that Prabhupada is going to quote. So I read. In this verse, the words Sarvatra Tak Ikshanam describe the highest perfection of devotional service, in which one sees everything with reference to Govinda's activities. So again, Narada Muni seeing the activities of the Lord. How wonderful. Just hear them. The highly elevated devotees never sees anything unrelated to Govinda. Stvara Jangamadeke Nadeke Taramurti Sarvatra Hoy Nija Ishta Deva Spurti. Quote, the Mahabhagavat, the advanced devotee, certainly sees everything mobile and immobile, but he does not exactly see their forms. Rather, everywhere he immediately sees manifest the form of the Supreme Lord. C.C. Madhya 8.274. Even in this material world, a devotee does not see materially manifest things. Instead, he sees Govinda in everywhere, in everything. When he sees a tree or a human being or a devotee sees them in relation to Govinda. Govinda Adi Purusham. Govinda is the original source of everything. Ishvara Paramakrishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakara Nakaranam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. The test of a perfect devotee is that he sees Govinda everywhere in this universe, even in every atomic particle. Adantarasta paramano chayantarastam. This is the perfect vision of a devotee. It is therefore said, Narayana Mayandhira Pashyanti Paramartina Jagadhana Mayan Ludha Kamukha Kamini Mayam. A devotee sees everyone and everything in relationship with Narayanam Mayam. Everything is an expansion of Narayan's energy, just as those who are greedy see everything as a source of money making, and those who are lusty see everything as being conductive to sex. The most perfect devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, saw Narayan even within a stone column. This does not mean, however, that we must accept the words Daridra Narayan, which has been manufactured by some unscrupulous person. One who actually envisions Narayan everywhere makes no distinction between the poor and the rich. To single out the Daridra Narayan or poor Narayan and reject the Dhani Narayan or rich Narayan is not the vision of a devotee. Rather, that is the imperfect vision of a materialistic person. So, the devotee is able to see everything related to Krishna. So, and just like that picture over there, that that the equal vision of the devotee, that they're able to see Krishna, they're able to see everything as an energy of Krishna. Everything is connected to Krishna, and they can see like that. I remember hearing Rabindra Sri Prabhu explaining that from the perspective of the absolute, from the absolute plane, from the spiritual plane, then everything is one. So you see oneness, or you see everything that is connected to the oneness, is that everything is connected to Krishna. Everything is Krishna's energy, expansions of Krishna's energy. So you don't see the separation. But from the perspective of this world, then you see the difference. Dvaita. There is God and there is his energies. But the absolute truth involves everything like that. So the pure devotee, he sees from the transcendental part. So he sees Krishna everywhere. Different than the Mayavadi conception, that they think that they only focus on that aspect, because in the scriptures it says like that. They only focus on the aspect of oneness. No, there's oneness and there's a difference. And that's a proper understanding. Any comment or questions? Yes, Bhaktamich Prabhu. So it may be mute. Okay, I pull it out from here. I got my magic touch. No, I don't have my magic touch today. There's a red light, red button on number 2. Okay, try.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class. I was wondering, you were talking about being sentimental, and I was wondering if you can explain the meaning of sentimentalism and where it comes from.
Well, my immediate thought is it have to do with emotions, and it's not something bad. Emotions they're necessary. Sentiment is just is something that is necessary when you have a relationship. It's a natural expression of that. That's my immediate thought. I would say some conception of sentiment is like you have to do more with the heart. And however, when that sentiment is based on a misconception, then it's a problem. So sentimentalism, to when you say these people are sentimentalists, meaning that their whole approach of life is simply out of what your sentiments tell you, and the sentiments comes from your It's almost is the spirit, and it's what it comes out of the experience, the immediate experience, God experience, like I say. When their life is based on that, okay, it feels good. Oh, this sounds good. Then in general, it could be, a very problematic thing. When it's just led by that, it feels good. It's good. I like this, or this is something that I feel comfortable with, and it's not based on some understanding or some proper understandings of things, or common sense of knowledge. If the head is not here, then it can be quite problematic. So in general, sentimentalism, when it is not something that is you know, how you say it, a praising type of, you're praising someone. Oh, you're very sentimental. Usually it's more like you have a problem, like that. You know. So the combination of sentiment with common sense, with intelligence, is a much more proper way of approaching things. So Prabhupada, the teachings that were given by Srila Prabhupada is that religion, or a religious life without transcendental knowledge, is sentimentalism. And then there's another thing that Prabhupada attaches to that is very close, the concept sentimentalism and fanaticism. The two. So Prabhupada says, religiosity without transcendental knowledge is sentimentalism or fanaticism. So basically, transcendental knowledge means buddhi. In the Bhagavad Gita, transcendental knowledge is described as buddhi yoga. And buddhi means intelligence. And intelligence means the capacity of discern what is right and what is wrong. And so without transcendental knowledge, then you have no concept of what's right and what's wrong. You're just going from how it feels. So that's very dangerous and very detrimental for the people. Sentimentalism or fanaticism. And then he says, transcendental knowledge without religion is mental speculation. So the two elements are necessary. You need to have, your head well placed and your heart well placed. So, it's all right. Okay. Any other thing? Kukulananda Prabhu? Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.